Hello everyone, welcome in. It is 10:01 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, July 20th, 2016, and we're here on the Earthquake 3D live stream, and we're looking at the last 24 hours of activity that struck since my update last night. And if you're new to the live stream, let me welcome you in. We cover this every day. We keep track of the earthquakes which strike throughout the day and throughout the week and compare it to our forecast areas. And if you missed the forecast last night that I issued, you need to jump over to my YouTube channel. You can just click on my name. That'll take you directly to my YouTube channel, and you check the most recent video. It's called Must See. And that's the update from last night, including the forecast areas to watch for the next few days. Since the update last night, I just have to make you aware. First thing this morning, a 6.0, 6.1 earthquake struck in the Solomon Islands near Vanuatu. And if you were paying attention to the update last night, we warned everyone to watch for a larger earthquake to strike in the Solomon Islands, and we based it upon the deep 5.0 earthquake that you see raised high off the globe here just to the east of Vanuatu. And let me just center this a little bit better so you guys might be able to see it without me having to make it full screen. And when you see that, this is a sign of upwelling pressure coming up from down below and causing a shallower, larger earthquake in the process. So yesterday when I told everybody, deep 5 means a shallow 6 to 7.0 earthquake nearby, now a 6.0 has struck nearby just as expected. And it's larger. It's the first large movement to strike there in over a week. And that's no shock when we see that the deep earthquake happened right next to there. Additionally, the other silent zone, named over in the East Pacific, got struck right in the middle at the fulcrum point, as we talked about last night. And that was in Mexico, south of Mexico City, right at the middle point, a 4.5 struck. Additionally to that, South Japan was struck right after 3 hours after I issued the warning last night. Kyushu was struck. And let me turn on the combined European and USGS feed so we can see this. Kyushu was struck going down to Okinawa and then down to Taiwan. So you see the 4.7 on the map here in between Okinawa and Kyushu, and then Taiwan was struck. Well, we talked about South Japan being the silent spot to watch for movement, and it just got struck as well. Additionally to all that, new 5 struck in South Indonesia, just east of Sumatra. Now that wasn't a forecast. We didn't say watch here for 5s. We told you to watch for new volcanic eruptions. And news came out today that there's several new volcanic eruptions brewing, including one at Sinabung to the west, which they're saying could send off another large blast. And Sinabung's been erupting, on and off again for several years. So when it sends off large blasts, that's a sign overall of pressure brewing in the region over in the West Pacific. Additionally, a swarm broke out in North Alaska, and I went and looked up the location. There is no pumping operation, no volcano at the location, but look where it resides on the map at the northwest tip of the North American Craton. You make out the mountain ranges here that go all the way down into the United States. Let me turn this on full screen so you guys can get a better glimpse of what I'm looking at here. We have our swarm up to the north, and then we have our mountain range that connects down to the south portion of the North American Craton going into the United States. Mountain ranges give away the edge of the Craton on the western portion, and you can see at the very northwest tip, huge amount of movement striking all at once in a few hours' time. Well, that's going to push on the edge of the Craton down to the east-southeast. And we can expect some new movement. This is a new part of the forecast that I didn't get a touch on last night. This just happened over the last day. That we have to watch for larger movement to strike in Alberta, possibly in British Columbia, but more along the range. This could take us into Alberta for possible earthquake activity. And I know Animatronic lives up there, so keep watch. You may see 4.0 range. Why do I say 4 range? Look at the stacks of 3s and 2s to the north. It's obvious. It stands out. So it should push to the east-southeast just like everywhere else on the North American continent, and that will cause earthquakes down at the pumping operations over this next several day time period. Now, I want to turn on something and show you guys the last 24 hours of earthquakes on the West Coast. When you see what happened since my update last night, I think you're going to be blown away if you live on the West Coast. Remember how we told you to watch east-southeast from the 4.0 activity yesterday for new movement to strike of noteworthy size? Well, look what happened. A new swarm broke out in addition to multiple larger earthquakes striking all to the east-southeast, with only one earthquake striking to the north. See that? A 1.0 striking to the north, and then all this activity to the east-southeast. Proof that the 4.0s that struck south of San Francisco started pushing east-southeast and caused this new swarm to develop out down at Salton Sea Volcanic Buttes at the new magma chamber location. Make note of where this large stack of earthquakes is in Southern California, and it's surrounded by movement on either sides of equal size. So when you see that, one's down to the south, one's to the west all the way to Los Angeles, and a big stack right in the middle that happened since last night, letting you know pressure's coming up from down below and coming up on the magma chamber, which is rising towards the surface. Additionally, at the California-Nevada border, a huge swarm has broken out near Mono Lake and Mammoth Mountain. And when I say huge, look at it, guys. All the earthquakes that were spread out across Nevada, going into Utah, have all concentrated themselves around this volcanic location. And if you don't know about what's at the location, I probably should pull it up for you, just for new viewers. People in California already know about Mammoth Lakes and Mammoth Mountain and Mono Lake, but international viewers and even viewers around the United States have no clue about the supervolcano that's there. So let's just go ahead and show you guys. And it's not Mammoth Mountain, it's what's right next to Mammoth Mountain. Okay, Mammoth Mountain is right down here at part of the Long Valley Caldera, which itself is on the flanks of Mono Lake supervolcano. And it is a past supervolcanic blast location. So, what does that mean? Well, there's pressure coming up from down below, and it's displacing the magma chambers, not only at Mammoth Mountains, but you'll notice a cluster to the east-southeast of there that we just saw in Earthquake 3D. See this large cluster of earthquakes next to Mammoth Mountain, making somewhat of a circular pattern there? Well, let's go over and take a look and see what's next over here to the east-southeast of Mammoth Mountain. Well, it's clear. We have Crater Mountain, Fish Springs, Poverty Hills, Red Mountain Volcano, Taboos Creek Volcanic Cones. The whole Long Valley Caldera up to the north is being struck, and over to the east, where we have several more volcanoes going over the Ubihibi craters. I hope I'm not butchering that too hard, but if you look on the screen, you can pause it and read it. It's an ancient volcanic system, large volcanic field connecting over to these cones here to the west. And many of them are not marked back here in the back country. We just have to zoom in, and you'll have to make out the old lava flows from the craters themselves. And let's see. This is marked by the Smithsonian, by the way, so you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, here's one crater, just massive Ubihibi crater, and then we have many more cones and craters surrounding the area, including old buttes, old volcanic buttes, that you can tell at some point in the past they have tuffs on top where there were past eruptions. And we still have volcanic rock visible on the surface there. Going to the west, we have even more back here in the back country, not named. But this, just like all the others in the past, this was a fissure that opened up. It's pretty obvious. This whole range opened up at some point and sent out a large flow of lava down the sides of that mountain range all the way down to the south. It's very impressive. But going to the west, it may even occurred when there was a supervolcanic blast in the past up at Mono Lake, and this whole area started to see large volcanic eruptions. Who knows when that all formed? Very long time ago. So now that that's all been seen, you can understand that the pressure has transferred to the east-southeast from our 4.0 swarm that struck here south of San Francisco. We can expect this to further transfer east-southeast, and you're going to have to watch West Texas and North Colorado for possible new fracking earthquakes to develop. And this is on top of the other activity that's just struck the fracking operations over the past few days. So I have to mention that in addition to the areas I named last night still stand for the next day. So going into tomorrow, I'm going to have to issue a new forecast on areas to watch. But so far, all the areas have been hit in the United States, pressing down to the east-southeast. Remember how I mentioned Yellowstone yesterday, guys? Well, now West Yellowstone being struck directly with a new swarm right inside the park. Again, proof that the magma chambers are being upwelled from down below. Now, the earthquakes to the north, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, reporting nothing but explosions again, guys. They're back to this explosion baloney. And, what to make of it, I don't know. But I can tell you that some of the earthquakes are not explosions. For instance, let me open up at one of the earthquakes happening at Amboy Crater. And this is right next to Mount St. Helens. And they have it marked as an explosion. Let's just show you where it is. Okay, let's turn the screen back on for you guys to see. And then I'm going to quickly get into international. And the forecast still stands from yesterday. We only have a few more spots we're watching. But we'll zoom in here. Here's Mount St. Helens. Okay, and the earthquakes happening around here, they're trying to blame on explosions. And look, at this point, this explosion stuff is starting to get a little bit ridiculous because we know no one's out there doing blasting in the backwoods where there's no quarry. I mean, it's just, or like over on the East Coast, the experimental explosion 1 kilometer below the seafloor. I mean, or 3 kilometers below the seafloor. What did they drill into the seafloor? They had to change it to be 0.0 kilometers just to fit the Navy story. I mean, guys, we got some serious underhandedness going on right now at the USGS. I don't know who's in charge. Some crazy anti-science person. Somebody who's not into facts and into politics is in charge right now. So what does it all mean? Well, we're seeing pressure come up from down below. It's displacing the magma chambers, like I said, at Mono Lake supervolcano or Mammoth Mountain. It's displacing the geothermal pumping operation to the north with our other stack of earthquakes starting to grow again, letting us know that the pressure is coming off the coast. And like I said last night, we're watching for 5 to mid 5.0 earthquake activity to strike off the coast from the Gordo Escarpment going just north along the South Juan de Fuca up to the Blanco fracture zone, which is right here at the bend. Okay, so we need to watch over the next day. Still keep watch. The pressure's all there. The signs are there. The whole state of California being pushed to the east-southeast, all the way down to Salton Sea and beyond. Also to the north, just minor movement, letting us know it's pretty much gone silent. They're only marking the earthquakes as explosions, which means they're either trying to hide them or they don't want us to know something's going on. Okay, so again, next day, West Coast, 5.0, keep watch. I hope I'm wrong. Hope it just strikes in a swarm. Or I hope it drags out over the next few days and we see more and more development down to the east-southeast and we don't see a larger earthquake strike. I mean, we hope that nothing strikes. I'm not jumping up and down for joy when large earthquakes strike. I do have to come on and show you guys when I nail it, though, like I did with the 6.0 here, or with Japan, or with over in Mexico, in Central America. And when we get into Central America, South America, and Europe, you guys need to understand that we're watching over multiple days, because I get more into an international forecast. I can't base it upon the smaller earthquakes like I do in the U.S. We just don't have those feeds available yet. Someday, maybe they'll provide them, but I'd have to build that stuff myself somehow, and I don't know how to do that. So for the time being, we can only base it upon the larger earthquakes that we have reported, which leads us into a longer forecast, or a forecast that covers many more days, because we don't have anything smaller to base it on a day-by-day basis. So when we take a look at what struck over the last 24 hours since last night, Central America, the only spot that moved was the spot that we warned. South America went completely quiet. West Pacific, we only have one round of earthquakes, and that's the 6 that you saw at the start of the video. Let's show you again. There it is. So what does this mean? Well, South America, we don't like to see silence. If we see silence, that means there's building pressure. And where will it release? Well, it will most likely release in the middle of the silent spots. And the only earthquake that struck in the past 24 hours, actually this is over 24 hours. This is right on at 24 hours. So literally right at 24 hours ago, a single near 5.0 earthquake at Ecuador. So it means there's really a large silent zone all the way throughout South Peru and all of Chile. And we only have one earthquake to base this upon right now, which is a 4.9. We need to watch for up to 1 magnitude larger. Why? because of the 6 that struck over here in the West Pacific. 6s usually cause lateral movement within a day to 2 days to the east, whether they're deep or whether they're shallow. So we have to watch the East Pacific in the southern hemisphere, basically along the same latitude or near the same latitude as this 6.0 over here in the West Pacific, over here in the East Pacific. And it should most likely hit the South American continent like a wall. The pressure will come upon South America and go down to the south and around to the east towards the South Sandwich Islands. So when it hits South America, it should cause an earthquake right in the middle of that silent zone. Again, the silent zone is pretty much half, or, well, actually that's all of Peru, pretty much. All of Peru, Bolivia, and all of Chile. And in the middle point, that would put us right here at, the middle point of Chile again. So watch out for 6.0 activity to strike in central Chile over the next few days or less. We only see 1 to 2 days time turnaround between the time 6s strike in the West Pacific and 6s strike in the East Pacific. Over in Asia, again, when we look at the last 24 hours of earthquakes, do you see anything missing? Yes, we're missing a large earthquake or a swarm of earthquakes that should have developed out here over the past day, and there hasn't been. And the middle of the silent zone, when we go, let's turn this down just a little bit, turn back on the USGS last 7-day feed. We have 4.6 just beyond 24 hours ago up here in China. But if we get to the middle point between the two spots that have moved along this is a fault zone, by the way, that extends from Sumatra, Indonesia, up through Bangladesh into China. They just found this out this past week. That scientists went out to go confirm something we've been talking about for the last 2 years, guys. That there's a fault zone that goes from Sumatra up through Bangladesh and Burma and Myanmar up into China and then makes a bend west throughout the Himalayan range into North India. And we saw an earthquake develop out at the far north tip of that over a day ago. So we have earthquakes down here in South Indonesia and earthquakes up in North China. And the middle point between those two spots takes us down into Sumatra, Indonesia. And we have to follow the plate boundary, so this takes us halfway down right into the spot we warned last night. Okay, so we're still watching for the next couple days on that location. In Japan, we have a new silent zone that's developed out now that the spots have been hit to the south, and this is the spot to the north, Hokkaido into Kuril Islands, Kamchatka. Watch for similar magnitude combined total taking us into the 5.0 range. And there's already been a bunch of 5s around there, so we shouldn't be shocked about 5s transferring into that silent zone, pretty much right where that old 5 is, the old red 5 from the start of this week. We should see movement just to the south of there over the next 24 hours in that range, based upon the other magnitudes nearby. If a deep earthquake strikes, then we have to watch for larger movement. Okay? Now, Europe. We have to get into you guys because you've got some CERN activity going on, and you've got some other rare earthquakes activity going on that's striking, and you guys aren't being made aware of it by your agencies. There's nobody making videos on it. I went and looked on YouTube. There's no European earthquake forecasters except for that Dutch knockoff guy. The guy who's trying to copy me and use planetary alignments and dreams. Okay, so you don't really have anybody doing this for Europe. And we only can base this upon the European feed, since they're the ones reporting the small earthquakes in Europe. Check out Turkey. We are building into a large earthquake, most likely in Turkey. At this point, we can't overlook it. Turkey keeps getting struck day after day with multiple 2, 3, and 4.0 earthquakes all across the country from the eastern border to the western border. And I mean literally at the eastern border and at the western border. I don't know if that's the military coup going on. Do they have their own HARP? I don't know what's going on there. Something's going on. Is it building into a large earthquake? Is it military? We don't know. There's the coup. There's so much going on there. But it's just too weird to see the border regions keep getting struck over and over again. We just cannot ignore that. What to make of it? I don't know yet. It's the first time I've ever seen a country get swarmed out all around its border regions only for like a week or 2 weeks on end. Now, further to the northwest, we told you guys, we have to watch to the west-northwest for larger movement. Well, you don't see it on the map here now, but a earthquake struck near Rome today, and it's beyond the 50 earthquakes from the European feed, but USGS isn't going to show it because they don't show us anything over 4.0 internationally. Go figure. So when you look at this, you have to imagine a near 3.0 right at the center of Italy. And we talked about Italy, watching Italy last night. And it's not that big of a deal. It's a near 3.0 earthquake. We were expecting near 3, somewhere in that range, because of the larger activity to the south, the 2s and 3s. And I was actually even looking for a 4. So to see a 3 there, that's actually good news. But then look what happened after that. 2.4 and 3.4 struck northwest France. Fairly rare earthquake location. Again, northwest France. Why was France struck? Because the pressure transfers to the west-northwest. From the earthquakes in Turkey up to the earthquakes in France, it moves in that direction, out towards the mid-Atlantic ridge. So what do you have to watch for over the next day, 2 days? We have a new silent zone that's developed out again, this time in this is going beyond South Italy. I guess that's Sicily, the island to the south of Italy, and then going east into Greece. And why do I say that? Well, it's the middle point in between the spots that have moved, and we have to take the 3.4 into account as well. So we get down into a middle point in between those 2 points, and it takes us into South Italy going into Greece. Okay? So that's the spot to watch, and we watch for the combined total between the magnitudes. So all these 2s to the east-southeast, a single 4 and a 2 to the northwest, means most likely a 3.0 range earthquake. Not too big, not that big of a deal, but when it strikes, it just confirms that the forecast is correct. That's just for the next 24 hours. By tomorrow, I'll have a new update out. So, okay, Americas, you've got your idea of what's going on. Asia, you know what to watch for. Europe, you know what to watch for. I don't have many viewers in Russia or in India. So, again, if we could manage to get more feeds somehow in CSV or Atom format, then I could possibly get them in on Google Earth and start doing near-term forecasting from other countries. We'll just see if that's a possibility going forward in the future. I mean, a much longer video, or I'll have to break it down into multiple videos by country. So that's all I got for the update tonight, guys. Really, the 6.0 striking right at the spot where I warned. I told you guys. I mean, I hate to say it, but I have to. I hate to say I told you so, but I did tell you so. Certainly, there's no doubt about it. Earthquakes can be forecast. My viewers were watching for a 6 to 7.0 earthquake to strike there, and a 6.0 struck. Now, as I was talking here, another 2.6 just struck in eastern California near Mammoth Mountain. So those have been popping off left and right. Volcanic magma chamber moving from down below, letting us know the earthquake's coming off the coast or near the coast very, very soon. Guys, you're all very much appreciated. Guys and ladies, you're all very much appreciated. Everybody who's in the live stream chat, how many people are in here right now? Oh, I got 360 people today. You know, I went and tuned into another live stream today of a guy walking down the street, and he had about 1,200 people in there. It's pretty interesting. I wonder if people are concerned about earthquake forecasting. I know the people in here are. Out of the 369 people, do you think most of the people you know would want to know when an earthquake strikes? Or do you think I should just, I don't know, pack up shop and leave? I don't want to hear your answer now. I want you guys to answer my question below my video that I put out tonight. I'm going to put this update out on my channel so you guys can watch it again. And I just want to hear your answers.